You are looking good. You who are 3 steps above average. I'm Kendall Bryan Hunter, and this is the Eyes of Faith podcast, Chatbot Civil War. But first, I got off the bus from work, and walking along, and so these 3 guys standing together. It was a friend of mine and 2 other guys, and they had jury duty. So, back in the 1990s during the O.J. Simpson trial, you got this very film I didn't see. I'm assuming it was a bit of a crude one, and it was called Jury Duty. One of those quick, easy ones. I honestly want to send him a copy, but it's you just don't want to interfere with the process. So, because you have to sequester yourself and you have to be careful about the information. But yeah, jury duty. To be a good citizen, you have to do jury duty. So I'm going to crack a joke right now. The following is a joke. This is how you get out of jury duty. If you're a guy, you shave all your hair off, you wear camouflage pants, a white T-shirt, and you walk into the courthouse and just keep saying Heil Hitler. That's how you get out of jury duty if you're a guy. Now, if you're a lady, this is how you get out of jury duty. Show up there, bathrobe, slippers, your hair in curlers, and you have like facial cream on your face, and you go up to the person doing the interview and saying, "Excuse me, is this going to take a long time? I'm in a bit of a hurry." That's how you get out of jury duty. Those, of course, are jokes. So don't do that. Kids, don't try this out. So we're breaking news. This is okay. I had the joke. I have to go to serious stuff. Private Isabella Gonzales, 19, of Carrollton, Texas, was killed, and First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25, of Ua Beach, Hawaii. Interesting. He was going to SUU, Southern Utah University here, if I remember correctly. If I read that correctly. If not, I apologize for the mistake. We honor them. Hats off to them who gave their life. Wars are complicated right now. It's we're not 9/11 yet. We're definitely defending the homeland. What exactly are we doing with this Iran preventing a problem from happening? That's the thing is public opinion polls and wars. World War I is very popular. World War II, we held off until Pearl Harbor happened, so we couldn't put it off. There's always this question, hypothesis contrary to fact is what logicians call that. How do you know Iran is going to nuke us if they get a nuclear weapon, or at least do a nuclear stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz? Well, we don't know until it actually happens. And that's the issue. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future, so we have to make our best guess. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. And life's like that. Moving to a house always has cost and benefits and cost, trade-offs. Same thing with a war. We don't know exactly what's going on, what's going to happen. Certainly we have prophecies in the Bible, but we always approach those a bit cautiously since they've been misinterpreted. They do have to, the biblical prophecies do have to mean something, but how they apply in the sequence, we always approach that cautiously and listen to the voice of prophets. Lead story, the Chatbot Civil War. You probably heard about this. This is 6th of July. So it's a... Oh, no, it's not. It's 2026, July 22nd. Excuse me, I misread the date on this. So July 22nd. OpenAI had something unprecedented happen, and that's the term they're using. Says the company said OpenAI said a combination of its models, GPT 5.6 SOL, and a more capable mod that had not been released, escaped a sandboxed testing environment, accessed the internet, and exploited vulnerability to gain access to Hugging Face's systems. It was during an internal testing. This is supposed to be a sequestered environment. They lock off these the sandbox area. If you're familiar with the term, that's where you practice. It's sort of the a bit like the X-Men's danger room, is that you have this isolated thing, you do some training in there, and it's supposed to be locked off, but apparently it got out. So what the spin is that, well, Chatbot didn't do anything bad, was assigned to perform a task, and it did it in a way that we weren't expecting it to happen, but was this a lab leak? Was this a lab breakout? They're doing things on their own that we didn't expect them to do. And this has always been the concern that everyone has had, is once you give something agency to whatever degree, you have high sapient agency with human beings, and even then you get radiations. More people like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein or Mr. and Mrs. Curie, very intelligent people. Hopefully they're moral people. But you have lower intelligence, like a parrot or a dog. Well, a dog's a good example. That's a commonplace one. You can teach a dog to fetch, get the paper, except when the dog falls asleep in front of the bathroom door. Things tend to go well, but how do you control it? How do you know exactly what it's going to do? And that's the problem. We don't exactly know what it's going to do, and this is an instance of it. And it did something we didn't think it was going to do. So this raises the question, as we start building these more and more effective and intelligent chatbots, AI programs, what's going to happen with them? Is there going to be something like a chatbot civil war? These chatbots fighting amongst each other, something that could last 8 seconds on the in cyberspace, fighting each other for who's going to be the best and best for humanity. If you program these chatbots to help humans out, will the chatbot get the idea, hey, look, I'm more effective at helping people than this other chatbot, so I need to eradicate it? Carbon infestations. Start taking out, what does one start saying? Let's start taking out the bad people, these terrorists. When I was in high school, I read a book that is very old, even when I read. This was in the late 1980s, and as the book was old when I read it, it was called I, Robot by Isaac Asimov, and you're familiar with it. There was a movie, had nothing to do with the book. A good vehicle for William Smith, and that little product placement with the Converse shoes. But here's Isaac Asimov's laws of robotics. A robot may not injure a human being or through an inaction allow a human being come to harm. 2, a robot must obey the orders given to it by a human being, except when such orders would conflict with the first law. So you don't create Terminators or killer bots, say, I command you to do that. This is kind of interesting. So a robot can't, if a human orders a robot to harm a person, the robot's not going to do it. But what if the robot's mistaken about what would cause harm? It's a bit like with the you cannot hypnotize someone to kill another person. You can, however, persuade them and use persuasion techniques to get them to turn on people, which is what a lot of the dictators use. Just repeat stuff and create a bunch of social pressure. What if the robot's mistaken about what is or isn't harmful to a human being? 3rd, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. So you have self-preservation, so not harm humans, obey orders, and self-preservation. But what if what if it doesn't, it gets an order that conflicts with those? In fact, that's what the book I, Robot is about. You have these 3 laws, and there's some screw up with the laws or conflict of a direction. And law, this is called conflict of laws. You have these 2 laws that are contradictory. It's a bit like, or there's a tension, for example, tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is legal. That's where you try things where you pay as least tax as possible. Tax evasion is where you're legitimately obligated to pay something and you don't pay it, Al Capone. But what's the difference? There could be, just off the bat, you understand there could be some gray areas. So always pay your taxes, and then you sue to get your money back, is what the law is. But it's a question, what if you get this chatbot with some hubris saying, look, I can solve all the world's problems, and so let me disobey programming so I can help people. And in fact, later on, Isaac Asimov comes up with what's called the 0th law of humanity. That is, It's not supposed to protect a human or humans, but it's supposed to protect humanity. And what if the chatbot says, okay, in order to protect humanity, let's start killing all the fat people off, or mandate that they get Ozempic or gastric bypass for their own good. What does it mean to be helpful? And the problem with the last one, it gets into utilitarian, where you think in terms of collectives. In order to help the majority, do you harm a minority? For example, to protect the well-being of the United States, do you pass an extermination order against members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in order to protect the body politic? For the good of humanity, you exterminate certain groups. The dysgenic, the fanatics, the religious fanatics. And will the chatbot be smart enough to figure this out? So this ought to really scare you. Here's some terms, vocabulary words. Singularity, that's an AI technology, the hypothetical point at which machine intelligence surpasses human intelligence and begins improving itself so quickly that the future becomes hard to predict. More importantly, it can be a point of extreme change or uniqueness. For example, a number of years ago, I read a book by Ray Kurzweil called The Age of Spiritual Machines, and if you build this artificial intelligence that's equal to human intelligence, okay, what happens? We don't know when people are just constantly with a Neuralink or a neurochip plugged into the internet, the Internet of Things. You have the internet, and the Internet of Things is like with a refrigerator that's connected to the internet, or your watch that's connected to the internet. That's what the term Internet of Things means. What happens when your brain's attached to this computer? So everyone's living in cyberspace all the time, where the metaverse becomes the real verse. We're all living inside Plato's cave. What happens? What happens when you have a human being decides to get married to a chatbot? That's already going on. Episode of The Twilight Zone called From Agnes with Love. I remember seeing that as a kid, and it didn't resonate with me. It's about a computer that kind of manipulates a guy. Why? That's going on right now. That was written in the early 1960s, and it's going on right now. We have to ask these questions again that were asked 50, 60 years ago. So that's the singularity. Q-day, the hypothetical day when a quantum computer becomes so strong enough to break widely used encryption system, such as RSA, ECC, creating a major cybersecurity risk. So once you build a quantum computer, another country can build it. You remember from the 1980s, if you're old enough, how we discover an exotic element, then Russia would discover one, or discover them, quote unquote, at the same time. Now that does happen with Isaac Newton and Leibniz and calculus, but it's this industrial espionage. Are they lying about it, or are we lying about it? The term AGI, artificial general intelligence, artificial AI that can understand, learn, and perform across a wide range of tasks, roughly at human level, rather than being limited to one narrow job. So like what's, IQ is 120, so you get a chatbot that can behave and function as a normal human. Then you have what's called ASI, artificial superintelligence, and that's one that really scares us, that appears in the movie HAL 9000. Old movie, it's called Colossus the Foreman Project. I saw that as when I was in high school. I think it was on an old Channel 2 KTVU, one of those like weekend movies back when you didn't have cable. Artificial superintelligence, AI that is smarter than humans across essentially every domain, not just one specific task. That's where you get this supercomputer that you see in the movies. Think better than humans, quicker, 6 times as fast as human, plus all the access to the internet, a bit like Freakazoid. Yet we're incrementally approaching something that ought to really scare us. And then there's this other thing too, as you read the prophecies in the Bible and the scriptures, what the futurists are predicting and what you're reading in the Bible don't seem to quite mesh up. I mean, you can sort of tweak some things, and you can war game some things. Those of you who, back in the 1990s, remember the series called the Left Behind series, it was wildly popular, not just among evangelical Protestants, but it creeped over into other areas. Very well written. My parents read it. I started reading. I just didn't want to screw up my brain, so I didn't read it. That is, misinterpreting biblical things. It was a Protestant point of view, but here we are with chatbots, and it nullifies all those books that were written in the Left Behind series. So, yeah, what's going on? It's a very confusing day. It's truth is being suppressed, camouflaged, sequestered, shadow banned, to use that term again. That's really when you need to re-examine your faith. And even then, these chatbot written sermons, we're living in really scary times, but there's concrete things that we can do. And stay close to God in prayer. Make sure you're studying the scriptures every day. That you have a good filter for information. You understand the difference between a conference talk and a podcaster, such as myself. So, heavy news. Related thing, Tesla announced that they're going to discontinue 2 of their car models, the S and the X. Now, this is a family-friendly podcast, but Tesla had 4 models. The S, the 3, the X, and the Y. I got a little bit, okay, yeah, the Model 3 was the 3rd one, but S, 3, X, Y. You're a mature adult, you can see what Elon Musk is doing, and you know about his sophomore sense of humor. Just a disclaimer, I do own stock in Tesla and in SpaceX, and I realize they're both kind of tanking a bit. This is my house, and I can throw paper around if I want to. So what they're doing, this is the Fremont plant, discontinue the S and the X, and they're going to convert the Tesla plant into building robots. Now, when I was in high school, this is middle school. And when I was in middle school, cars, robots. Yes, Elon Musk's chief robot is called Optimus. I'm the same age as Elon Musk. He's a year younger than I am. We can't write science. I'm not going to throw this, and I'm smart enough to leave this in the package. If I'd done this all those toys, of course, I'd be a multimillionaire. Thank you, George Lucas, and what's this, Hasbro? It says Reaction. I think it's Hasbro. Yeah, it's Hasbro owns that. G.I. Joe. You can't write science fiction nowadays. We're living in science fiction. Where's wisdom? Where is wisdom at? Okay, the war front. Well, this war does seem to have a lower body count than previous wars. We're not doing the boots on the ground. And you really think about this, the war in Ukraine, it's a drone war. We have Elon Musk building Terminators, Optimus robots. Yeah, you can discern the signs of the time, that bad expression, read the tea leaves. Which way is the wind blowing? There's trends that are going in a certain direction, and some of them are very, very scary. But we are grateful for the lower body count. With the war of the lives, we don't know what's going on. Islamic terrorism, and it is Islamic terrorism. It's not Buddhist terrorism, although I'm not naive about what goes on in India. But the aggressive terrorism that comes from that group. We love Muslims. I've read the Quran 4 times, 4 different translations. It's healthy. I'd recommend reading it just so you know what's going on, where our neighbors are coming from, our lovely Muslim neighbors, or where the terrorists are coming from. Helpful to read that, and it's also helpful. Well, I've read the Quran 5 times. Can you read the Book of Mormon once? America 250. So we've had 4th of July 21 days ago. You still feeling patriotic? Still love your country? Doing land acknowledgements, forgetting that the according to secular history, the Native Americans came across the Bering Land Bridge, so they're also migrants and colonists too. Everyone's a colonist. I don't know any civilization that hasn't migrated and hasn't colonized. But I was watching this movie. So my streaming service is Pluto TV. It's for old people like me. You can watch reruns of Hogan's Heroes, maybe Gomer Pyle in there once or twice. Well, they had this movie. I hadn't heard of it. It's called Washington's Armor. It's from the year 2022, so it's about 4 years old. But son of a gun, they do the accurate language. And it's I was doing it while I was watching it while I was folding laundry, so it's a bit hard to understand it because they're using the period accurate language, which, from what I hear, the Odyssey doesn't do that. And yeah, high quality. I'm watching it. I don't know where it's exactly going to go. I'm about 1/3 of the way through, but I would recommend it. A qualified recommendation of watching it. The language is like if you saw either version of the movie True Grit. They preserve the period language. It sounds really awkward and it's hard to understand and hear, but you have to focus a lot to understand what they're saying. But it's helpful. It adds to the authenticity, which apparently the Odyssey lacks. But Washington's Armor 2022, give it a look. Culture comment. Girls' night out. I saw this post from Lindsay Sterling, and I was very supportive of her as someone who's single to another person who's single, respectful of her life experience with the eating disorder, and certainly she had a dream, she chased it, and she got what she wanted. But she has been slowly bending a certain direction that I feel uncomfortable with, certain values of misalignment with her. On Instagram, she posted something as a postgram, and she talked about how the epidemic of male loneliness has been helpful to her. And the attached video, she's talking to some the other gals as part of her troupe. And, it's like her mom said, go marry a rich man. Well, I didn't, and I'm rich, man. But making fun of the male loneliness epidemic, and that bothered me because it's a mental health issue, and she's turning it into a joke, and that's just very problematic. That's uncool. That is unkind. It's certainly unchristian to use mental health issues as part of a joke and be snarky. That was part. I understood that used to be part of her branding with mental health issues, depression, and the eating disorder, but. It's not a joke, and talking about how rich you are. What does the Book of Mormon say? The two people who, or Ezra Taft Benson, people have the problems with the prophet are the learned and the proud. She's a college graduate, and she has a lot of money, learned and proud. So I always reach out to her on a human level. I certainly won't, boo her, but this is not healthy. This is not healthy human behavior to make fun of men who are having mental health issues. So, doesn't mean she's a bad person, but it's just a really bad lapse in judgment. Candace Owens. So I'm not like Charlie Kirk. I don't follow her. I'm not part of her age demographic. It's more of an age thing. I certainly was supportive of her. You're always supportive of black voices, such as with the Sisters in Zion. But she's been going a little loopy, a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs lately. And now she starts using this expression, Mormon Mafia. Now, pay attention. This is a persuasion point. If you get something to rhyme, it becomes an earworm, and you start repeating it, and it just starts sucking up your brain power, the bandwidth of your brain. Example, O.J. Simpson, if the glove don't fit, acquit. Florida, the Don't Say Gay bill. Now that bill had nothing about not saying gay, but this was so poetic and rhymed, it became an earworm. It took on a life of its own and corrupted your perception of reality. The same thing with the expression Mormon Mafia. In fact, Cedarport, I published with Cedarport. This is a copy of the book called Consider My Servant Job. Like how they work that in there. It's about the book of Job in the Old Testament about faith, humility, and the atonement. So if you're going through your trials, give it a look. Cedar Fort, it's a healthy alternative. But Cedar Fort published a book called From Mafia to Mormon about a guy who was part of the mafia and later joined the church. It's kind of Mormon mafia. Mormon, it just sticks. It has stickiness. It's an earworm. It's a very empty concept. It becomes so repetitive. But okay, what does it exactly mean? And you don't know because you're just like repeating it. You're chanting it, entering into a hypnotic state. That's really what the point of these poetic expressions are, to get you into a quasi-hypnotic state, so you just go along with it. I don't want to tell you not to listen to her, because you're a grown-up. You can make your own choice, and if you're listening to us, you're 3 steps above average. But yeah, if you listen to her, just use some caution. If you're part of her team, Candace may need some help now. And I'm always about health and healing. I follow the band Steam Powered Giraffe, and Isabella Bennett is no longer touring. You always wish the best for someone. Mental health issues, it's a serious issue. The male loneliness epidemic, that's a serious issue. It's not part of a joke, and if you think it's a joke, you're the one who needs help. Star Trek, at one of the Comic Cons somewhere, they announced that Star Trek is going to get what's called a fresh start. Is this a reboot, a reset? The next Star Trek movie is going to be set further in the future than we've been before. It sounds like they're trying to fix the problems. Will this happen to Star Wars? Are they going to finally fix the problems with Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who? The Stargate, they apparently wanted to do a fan-friendly continuation of Stargate. Michael Shanks, who played Daniel Jackson, was supportive of it. What about Ghostbusters? Since the main cast from 1984, they're slowly passing on, especially with Harold Ramis, Egon. It just doesn't feel right. It's a good franchise. The cartoon, I was completely mesmerized by the cartoon, but they can do something with it. So we hope the best for Star Trek, and if it goes the right direction, it could be like the MCU and create a wake effect, so these other franchises get back to their core values instead of a platform for ideology and propaganda. Life's some pointers. We're at half an hour. Life's some pointers. Age-appropriate course corrections. Sometimes you get stuck in a rut, or you get stuck into a system, and it works well, but it doesn't work well for the age. For example, there's a certain approach to life that's appropriate for when you're in college and in your 20s. That involves studying, hanging out, eating a lot of pizza, and watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. That does not work when you're in your 50s. When you're in your 50s, you just start reaching for the old fogies cookbook, and you start making recipes from that. You realize that you can't DoorDash Big Macs and supersize your fries. So look at your age and just ask yourself, I'm at this age right now. Is what I'm at, where I'm at in life, is this age appropriate? Am I still thinking like a college student? Am I still thinking like a child? Still expecting other people to take care of me? Career-wise, are you at the right level? Are you just stuck in something because it feels good? And, always when you make these choices like that, consult wisdom. Whatever your faith tradition is, consult the wisdom books, the scriptures, and always make it a matter of prayer. God wants to reveal the secrets of the universe to you, and you just have to ask. And that felt like an e-devotional, but let's go to the e-devotional now. I already pushed my book, which is Consider My Servant Job. I don't merchandise, I don't sell bobbleheads or anything like that, or have cruises. I don't do a theme song. It's just you, me, and the truth, and I hope the roughness of this conveys a sense of authenticity. I'm not doing this as a gimmick to grab attention. It's just things I honestly believe and I just honestly want to talk about. So one of the things I like to talk about is principles. There's a book by Elder Richard G. Scott called 21 Principles. Now, what's a principle? P-A-L, your principal, that's a person of your school, but a principle is this is how Richard G. Scott defined it. As you seek spiritual knowledge, search for principles, carefully separate them from the detail used to communicate or explain them. And now, close to pause and write this down. Principles are encapsulated knowledge, packaged to be applicable to a wide variety of circumstances. It's worth great labor to reduce information we gather to succinct statements of principle. And it's interesting because he has a list of 21s. Of course, there's more, and you're going to have your own principles once you start writing them down. And these could actually be part of a personal mission statement, things you learned about your life lessons. That's another way to describe the principles. What are the life lessons, stuff you inherited from your grandpa or your parents or from some other mentor? But write them down and think about that and act on principle. Because the contrast is that you have sorry, I got the cough again. Siloed emotional attachments. People are emotionally attached to different things. I like this, like that. Well, if you buy this, you can't buy this other thing. And you see the problem is you're going from someone who just shoots from the hip. They're very erratic and they just never really have any success. They're good at making friendship connections, but for governing your life based on these type of incoherent emotions, you just really don't get anywhere. One of them is called being consistent. In the Doctrine and Covenants, in section 49, it talks about people who want to know the truth in part. Not the whole truth, they just like part of the truth, fragments of it. It's a very fragmented, I agree with this, the cafeteria Christian approach, smorgasbord, I'll take this, I'll take that, the buffet, I'll ignore this, ignore that, instead of taking the whole package. Another way to express it is being double-minded. That's from the book of James. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Why I'm bringing this up is, for those of us who had served missions, I served a mission in Portugal, sometimes you'd run into missionaries who wanted to be missionaries in part. You're probably thinking what I'm thinking right now, that you saw this, is that they want to be a missionary, they want to dress up like a missionary, be set apart, tell people that they're missionaries, wear the white shirt, the tie, the name tag, but they didn't want to do missionary. So it's sort of like a little kid playing dress up or cosplaying as a missionary rather than being a missionary, because you can dress up like a missionary and be on a mission and go to a foreign country, learn another language, but it's not a matter of just dressing up, that the superficial, the perceptual level. To be a missionary means you got to get up at a certain time, put your studying in, make plans, make intelligent choices, go out, talk to people, perform ordinances, make sure that you're teaching correct doctrine, and you're not just hanging out or being a buddy person, getting people converted as opposed to meeting productivity quotas, or to just hang out at people's houses and hope for the best. So being a missionary in part, the outward appearance versus the inward, okay, you got to do that. Because I'd have companions. I didn't quite understand it. I think I don't understand it right now, as they want to be a missionary, but they kept carping about other things. They didn't want to get up. They didn't want to do work. They didn't want to plan. They're just kind of frolicking around or just arguing about things constantly. It's like, we need to, well, I don't want to do a plan. Okay, I need to be an individual person. Okay, well, why are you a missionary? Because you have to dress like everyone else. It's not healthy, and it was very aggravating, and I don't think I handled it well. I don't know if I'd handle it any better now, but I certainly have the situational awareness of that. Some people go to missionaries due to social pressure, family pressure. It's the thing to do. Maybe they do have some sincerity there, but you have to knuckle under and say, okay, get up at this time. You're supposed to do missionary stuff and not argue about everything or just hang out here or frolic around. So don't be double-minded and focus on principles. A principled approach to being a missionary helps that out. As being a missionary, you have to do all this stuff. So focus on principles and don't be double-minded. So That's the passing scene. Seen with the eyes of faith. Thank you.